when the Bible talks about 3.5 days, we've got to think of it in terms of a day for a year, which is 1,260 days. I translated that as years. And if we take that from Constantine, for instance, 325, to the Reformation, about 1600, 1525, whatever, it takes us up to the time of Luther and the Reformation. And it talks about, in Daniel chapter 12, blessed are they who come to the 1,200 and how many days? A little bit extra. Now, I think that's when the Reformation was established. And when we look at Revelation and the second, for instance, and church, and the third and the fourth, we got to look at the time zones within each of the churches. And we read about they shall have persecution 10 days. Now, 10 days I look at as 10 years. But the thing is, how did they have 10 years of persecution? Well, under Nero, the Christians were persecuted. Fox's Book of Martyrs talks about different persecutions. And the thing is, in 64 AD, of course, the church was persecuted, and we know about the persecutions where they were thrown to the lions, etc. But after this prophecy is after 93 AD, because Jesus said, this is given for a time hereafter, for the church hereafter. This is not a prophecy about the church when the apostles were around, except for John, of course. This is for the end time church, from John to the end of the world. It talks about another time zone, which is 5 months, which is 150 days, or 150 years, when of course the beast was to come out of the pit, etc. All these different types of time zones. You know, the creature came out of the pit, ascended, and so on, and they had to hear the woman and the breastplate of iron, you know, all that. Again, that, if we look at that as prediction of aeroplanes were designed and were flown at the end of the 1800s. We're now into this 20th century. We're now into 2000 odd. So we're coming up to the 150 year slot anyway. Not quite, we're about 110, 115 years into it. The point is, we got to be watching for the end time and for the predictions which the Bible gives us. Jesus said, of course, there will be all manner of things coming on the face of the earth. In Matthew 24, Luke 21, etc., where it talks about famines and earthquakes and in diverse places and pestilence, which we've seen a lot of increases of. It talks about the Jews would repossess Jerusalem, which happened in 1967. And it talks about, the Bible talks about global warming, like the sea and the waves will roar, and there'll be signs of the sun and moon and the stars on earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for those things coming upon the earth. And he talks about giant hailstones coming down. Now I think the giant hailstones, they're bombs. So it says they blaspheme God day and night. And in the Second World War, the First World War, when the bombs dropped, people blasphemed God, and their hearts failed them for fear for those things coming on the earth. With tornadoes, of course, you get people's hearts failing them as well. And these great big hurricanes and cyclones, people's hearts are failing them now. They're getting stronger and more intense. So those things are coming on the earth. There are destructions, there's earthquakes. Men's hearts failing them for fear for those things coming upon the earth with earthquakes.